Nintendo has not detailed at all what they're going to be doing with the next Legend of Zelda game, but I do feel that the next Legend of Zelda will have even bigger changes from what we saw with the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword in the previous games to the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I first want to start off with what Mr. Fubiashi had to say in an interview with The Verge. The idea of looking for what the next wild thing, the next joyful thing, the next surprise is something that the team really gets a lot of joy and happiness out of. With Breath of the Wild, they were able to get the confidence that it's okay to take these kind of risks. So it really wasn't about worrying about whether this risk is okay or not, but instead, what's the next surprise we can provide, which made development a really joyful experience. So you can bet that that is going to be the mindset heading into the next Legend of Zelda title. That was the mindset that they had in an interview before Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out back in 2023. So you can expect what they're doing next to be something different, to be something exciting, and for them to take risks in different types of ways after having about a decade or so development on the style of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So let's break down every single bit when it comes to what's going to happen with this and the most likely outcome and scenario. But first, we have to make sure that we talk about the impact of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. These games sold a combined 50 million plus units, pretty much outselling all of the previous games combined when it comes to mainline titles. So I think that there will be some ideas and some things that they feel the key points, some of them that made people really want to explore and look through and collect and get different things in those worlds. It doesn't mean that they're going to completely copy them. I think it's going to be a separate Hyrule, a separate type of place, a separate art style, and other things that we're going to get into, but there are going to be certain aspects plucked that made some of those games the most addictive Zelda games out there overall from an open world standpoint. And we're going to get into potentially an open world or not right now at this point, because there's one thing that I know a lot of you guys are probably asking about, and that is the older formula going to return? Now, sometimes Nintendo's been dismissive of it. Mr. Aonuma has talked about how it's not necessarily something that needs to be done, and there's different types of ways that they get the traditional style in there. But I do feel that they are going to do their best. I think an even better job of what they tried to do with Tears of the Kingdom. Didn't quite work out the way that some old school fans wanted, but I do feel that they are going to make a smaller, tighter type of experience that's more dense and adds in some of those classic elements from what we saw from dungeons and other things, but adds in new elements to make it feel fresh and different. Imagine if they can get a seamless blend of an open world game with dungeon design, where you can go from the open world right into a dungeon and maybe not even know it, or you can seamlessly have those themed dungeons in a game that are very fun to play, then also have an open world, a smaller, denser open world that can seamlessly transition between them to where you can have fun things to do in both, and there's incentive to do your dungeons in addition to playing outside and having fun and defeating enemies and doing different things. Maybe that's one thing that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were not able to do, that they're going to shoot for here. So I would expect them to create some type of new formula and then pluck elements and add elements from the traditional Zelda games, in addition to Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, to create a new but familiar fusion of the Legend of Zelda that's going to surprise and delight players out there. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the Nintendo Switch 2, because this is the key piece into making all of these different parts gel and flow and really work together. This is by far the biggest jump and the best jump that the Zelda team has ever had for a platform. The power of the Nintendo Switch 2, and we're not talking about anything else but just the Nintendo Switch 2. That jump that they've had is incredible, and for a game like The Legend of Zelda, this is perfect for it. Large amount of memory, large amount of RAM, a lot of ease of development from what they've already done. Going with NVIDIA again, you have your HD Rumble 2, you have your Pro Controller, you have your design portable mode and the docked mode, all of the things that you use to create kind of on the fly to what you wanted to do with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. You can sit there and say, let's pick the best aspects of this, and now we have a significantly stronger system to deliver this type of quality that you can get with the graphics and with the audio and with the art style and with what you want to do with the game. So this is incredibly exciting, and I'm pretty sure that the Zelda team is salivating at what they could do on the Nintendo Switch 2 with the bump in specs and just overall the system itself, because once again, it's familiar but significantly better than what they've had before, and the biggest jump that we've seen in a while, probably since the N64 to the GameCube or the Wii to the Wii U. Definitely a huge jump, but in the HD era, we haven't seen them make a jump this big ever. So that's going to be very interesting and something to look out for, how striking it is, the quality of it when they finally show off the game. I think that it's going to be incredible on that aspect. Now let's talk about art style and what you can expect there. I am not expecting them to go with the cell shaded Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild type of look. I'm expecting them to do some type of different or hybrid style, darker cell shaded ish with some more realistic looking elements, or even like Twilight Princess and that type of style. One thing that I've seen a number of people say and content creators say online is that they want to see that Legend of Zelda demo that was for the Wii U, that tech demo. They want to see something that looks quite like that with the Nintendo Switch 2. And yeah, that'd definitely be interesting. That essentially took the Twilight Princess art style and said, hey, here is a demo to show off what the Wii U could do. But obviously no games actually looked that good on the Wii U for the most part, or at least Nintendo didn't make anything that looked that good. But with the Nintendo Switch, you could make something that looks significantly better than that and still runs really good in everything. So I expect them to explore different types of art styles, and when they reveal it, it's going to be like, oh man, have we seen that before? What is that type of style? I think it's going to be something interesting and something different. And I think based off of everything that they've said so far, talking about the Legend of Zelda and how they go about the development, if you've seen some of the different stuff that Mr. Aonuba and Fubiashi has had to say, I definitely expect them to debut something different that's going to feel incredibly, from just the style and the look and the play of it, that's going to feel incredibly different from what we got with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But before we get into the next topic, if you're enjoying the Zelda content here, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop. And let's talk about what you can expect in terms of development side. Obviously, you're going to have Mr. Aonuba. Mr. Fubiashi has done an incredible job when it comes to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but now you have Monolith Soft as well, which they've been involved in Zelda games for a while, but now they've got multiple more years of experience and adding to the team. Expect them to be involved. They've been hiring like crazy for their satellite studios and their development team one that's hard at work on their own new RPG for the Nintendo Switch 2, but expect when it comes to Monolith Soft to be involved and to help out with the type of game that they're trying to make. And there will be improvements because the other team members have also gotten better in their craft. It's one thing to get better hardware and everything, and that's fine, but experience is always going to be so key, and a lot of the younger staff were able to grow with the Zelda team and grow with them, and they're going to be far more confident now that they have 2 games down that they first started working on, and this will be their 3rd big Zelda game that they are doing. So I think that that's going to create a synergy between the teams, of course Monolith Soft, and between what Nintendo has with the Zelda team, and of course Miyamoto and Fubiashi and Aonuma, all together to create something that truly is going to be special overall because of that experience and because of that synergy between the teams. Now, when do you think that we could see this? What will be the reveal for this game? And this is the interesting thing, because depending on when you look at it, the next Legend of Zelda game, considering that the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom did not have DLC, so they did not waste any time working on DLC with the main team. I think that they got right to work on the next thing. They took 1 year of optimization. The game could have released in 2022, but it wasn't quite ready, so they decided we could release this game, but it might have the frame rate issues that the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild had at launch, and we'll have to release patches afterwards. They didn't want to do that, so they took 1 year to finally tune and optimize the game. But you don't have everybody optimizing on the game for 1 year. There's definitely a lot of staff that was probably moved on to maybe a different game that needed help, or potentially brainstorming ideas for the next Legend of Zelda game. So we can theoretically put it at 2022 or so that team probably moved on to doing the next thing with Mr. Aonuma and the top staff. So if you're looking at that, let's just count the years. 2022, then you have 2023, 2024, 2025. So potentially about 3 years or so, probably a bit less than that. So I'm guessing, if I had to at this point, next year or so would be when we would see the first glimpse of the next Legend of Zelda game. Once again, I don't think this is going to be a 6-7 year development type of game. I think they're going to make a smaller, tighter type of experience that you won't necessarily spend 100 or 200 plus hours in, with this massive open world with sky kingdoms and underground areas. I don't think they're going to do that, because obviously development costs and the time it would take with the jump in graphics. I think they're going to make something, like I said, smaller, a bit more compact, a bit more dense overall, and new styles and new ways to engage. So I would expect there to be some type of reveal probably next year. That would make it about 4 years of development. The next Legend of Zelda game is in development. Give us the first kind of like teaser trailer or look at potentially what Link could do. I would love for it to be something like we saw back in, what was it, 2004? At E3, when the crowd went wild for the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess with Link and that art style, the horse and just kind of slashing, then doing the little spin and everything. Something like that, just a little tease like that for the next Legend of Zelda would be perfect. And then the release the following year, give it about 5 years or so of development. To me, that would be perfect to set up the next Legend of Zelda game. Wouldn't be too much further after we got the Nintendo Switch 2, just 2 years after the system launches. I think that would be a great way to get the next Legend of Zelda game announced and ready to go at a Nintendo Direct, of course. That would be the best place. Obviously, we have the live crowds when it comes down to it at the Nintendo New York store. The Nintendo San Francisco store is also going to be opening up in May as well. So we're going to have plenty of outlets to get that live type of experience, to see what people are reacting, in addition to everyone that's going to be reacting on Nintendo Directs and everything, to where the chat goes wild and the streamers go nuts and everything. I've done it a million times myself. So I think it's going to be an exciting type of thing, and that's when we'll probably see it. Maybe next year for the first tease or something, and then the following year, so 2027 for the game's released overall. But once again, that is just speculation on my end. I can't sit here and say that's going to happen 100%. Game development is crazy, and I'm just kind of going based off of some rough estimates of what I think the Zelda team has been doing from the end of Tears of the Kingdom, from optimization and on. So another big thing with this that's definitely incredibly important, and why I'm more bullish on the game being revealed more sooner than later, is that the Nintendo Switch 2 needs massive system sellers. It needs the Marios, the Zeldas, the Pokemons, the Animal Crossings. It needs all of those. The sooner, the better, but the quality needs to be there. The expectations with the massive jump up in specs is going to be a massive jump up in quality in terms of looking at things. And yeah, with the Nintendo Switch 2, we've seen that so far. Mario Kart World looks significantly better. It's an open world game. It's got 24 players online instead of 12. The online looks great. There's so many things that you can say, okay, they've improved upon with that game overall compared to Mario Kart 8, which was a decade plus ago at this point. You're looking at Donkey Kong Bonanza. Donkey Kong's never looked better in 3D overall. The environments look great and everything. So that's what you want. You want that type of big impact. You're like, okay, yeah, that looks significantly better. But then the gameplay, the hook, what's the new thing that wasn't there before? Whether that's the open world of Mario Kart, or for Donkey Kong being in a 3D platformer that you can break apart anything where you want to for the gameplay hook. I think that Nintendo and these system sellers need to be revealed early and often, like I said. So that's why I expect that Nintendo obviously wants to get the next Legend of Zelda going. That is a massive system seller. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is one of the key factors in the Nintendo Switch selling as great as it did, in addition to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is the eternal system seller. And that's the reason why Mario Kart World is launching in a bundle and launching with the Nintendo Switch 2, because it can sell the system for the duration of the life, but Nintendo knows that they need that hardcore type of game that's going to get a lot of the core media that's super excited in the Nintendo Switch 2, and The Legend of Zelda always brings that to the table, doesn't matter what generation you're in. So I expect that Nintendo is going to be prepping and preparing for the Nintendo Switch 2 to get reveals like this, and The Legend of Zelda absolutely fits the bill, and that's why I think that, once again, it's going to be happening a bit more sooner than later. So maybe next year reveal, following year after that. I know that there's some people out there that feel like the next Legend of Zelda game won't be revealed for like another 3 years or something like that, based off of Tears of the Kingdom and the development time it took to get from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom. But once again, I don't think that they're going to do the type of thing that they're doing. And on top of that, the system in terms of what it can do graphically and frame rate wise and all of that is significantly more improved. So I think that the development of the game and the ideas will go even smoother, because the horsepower is now there to fuel those, to where they're kind of clashing against the wall with Tears of the Kingdom and the Ultra Hand, and getting all the physics to work with the Nintendo Switch 1, considering what that system can do, because it was a bit long in the tooth at the time overall. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to my theories with The Legend of Zelda and the next game having even bigger changes and being different and coming at the time that I think that we could see it? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 Zelda videos and more right here on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.